So here's the case study I talked about, right? So we had a very powerful, high-minute athlete on our team the last few years, okay? Suffered from a lot of patellar tendonitis, right? Working hands-on with Steph, right? Every single day. Hey, what are we working on? How can I help? How can I facilitate? How can I, add to what you're doing, right? I wasn't doing a good job, right? Still was causing a little bit of issue in here. I wasn't figuring out the exact thing that we needed to dose her with in here to elicit an adaptation. So again, sitting down with Steph, hey, what about this? Why don't we take everything that's in the corner? So we took the quantums, all right? Isokinetic, we'll put it at 0.3. We know that high force work done slowly is going to get a tendon adaptation, all right? Well, we know that we have to get a little bit of that frontal plane work. Let's see if she's extending that quad, get a little bit of load through the patellar tendon in a different range of motion. Different range than we normally do, right? Forward and up and down. And then we paired it to our flywheels, right? We know that flywheels have an overloaded eccentric quality, right? We know that there's a tissue adaptation, the ability to handle higher loads of force, and we know this athlete needed more posterior chain work. So that's what we started doing. Every week we'd hit lateral squats, at least once a week, and every week we'd hit 1 to 4 sets on the flywheel. Here's what we look like. November 2024. You can see there's a discrepancy in the numbers, right? Obviously my computer's not showing me the exact numbers, but I think it's roughly 1,300 newtons on the yellow, right? And about 815 on the gray. So we started dosing it in. Athlete starts to feel better. She's still seeing our sports med department. They're still working with her, right? And we're just dosing in stuff to enhance what they're doing, right? We're playing off each other. It's getting better, it's getting better, it's getting better. February, getting into playoffs, all of a sudden she's producing 1,700 newtons in the yellow, 1,600 newtons in the gray. That's pretty symmetrical, right? She's been skating since August. This athlete was part of the United States roster, had to get pulled out for camp that year. Spending high amounts of minutes on the ice, right? We often talk as strength coaches, right? You hear people say, oh, you're getting ready for playoffs. Our team's held together with duct tape and dental floss. Not us. Not us. We have an opportunity to load our athletes constantly, right? This athlete would hit isokinetic rows every single game day, right? She's pulling 500, 600 newtons of force. Made her feel good. That's a lot of load, right? Her line mate would do a lateral squat before every single game. Finish the warm-up, do her prayer, bust over there, put her foot down, let her rip, 3 reps each side, right? High force output, priming the system over and over and over. Our athletes got stronger every single year. And on top of that, right? Don't remember exactly I think the equation is what, like 1 pound per 4.4 newtons of force, right? So we're going back to that safe overloading. If I put 1,700, anyone got a math guy, right? That's what, like 380 pounds on a single leg of force produced, right? I don't want to put 385 pounds on my athlete's back on a game day. Maybe that's my problem, right? Maybe I'm not intense enough. I do think of myself as a meathead, but maybe I'm not a big enough meathead. I don't want to do that. But I would love for my athlete to be able to produce that force, not feel sore, and feel ready for the game. So that's how we're throwing it in. Rotational squat. We call it our Mohawk squat, right? And again, this was a solution that we saw that we integrated for a problem that we were having, right? The back end of conditioning sessions, generally for our taller athletes, we needed a way to effectively load the groin and put it under a high-level eccentric load so it's able to tolerate what we need them to tolerate throughout the year, right? So how I set them up, okay? It's gonna yank them back. Got about 10 on the way out, 15 coming back in. We're gonna start in a split position. Again, coaching them up into a good acceleration position. And then they're gonna rotate back under some load. Notice how I'm, again, using a similar cue to Snides, right? That inside edge. If you saw in the picture on the PowerPoint, when they're coming in on that Mohawk or they're driving into the ice, that's a fair amount of load coming through that groin, right? They're hitting the brakes, spraying the goalie, scoring goals, right? So we wanted to see, okay, if I hit 20 reps over, as you can see, I'm not a hockey player, right? over the course of the day, I'm stabilizing this front leg, I'm rotating this back, I then get a chance to load the glute. And supplementary, again, our athletes are stuck in boots all year, right? This ankle doesn't particularly function. So we now have a system that's allowing a little bit of rotation through that ankle joint, through the hip, that they have to tolerate and stay stable. So we can track right versus left. Over time, we will hit sets of 20 at the back end of a workout. 3 sets, 4 sets of 20, just constantly, over and over and over. Are you maintaining asymmetries or maintaining symmetries? Is one side dropping off? Should we load that side with more isos or eccentrics? That's our goal, right? Start to see what our athletes are capable of and look into it. Fun fact about me, even though I'm a strength coach, I hate testing days. I hated them when I was an intern because I hate the setup. I hate how long it takes, and I hate that you lose a day of training, right? Some teams run it really effectively. I was never part of a staff that ran testing days super effectively. So all of a sudden this day becomes all about testing rather than the product of testing. Second thing I started to find when I went through testing is if you tell an elite athlete to stand up with weight, they will stand up with weight. Regardless of the weight it is, they are going to push through that weight. And for us, with a roster of 24, I can't have an athlete missing because they blew up their back or their groin or anything else. I have to figure out ways to test and retest the tissue in the safest way possible. So for me, that's where the 1080 filled a bucket. I can now test and retest the tissue over and over and over when they're doing low volume skating in June, when skating load starts to increase in July and August. When they go back home, we can retouch on it in September, and we have these metrics over time to see, hey, what's happening at the hip, right? What's happening on the lateral squat? Are they still able to produce force? What's happening contextually after we play Ohio State in Ohio State when they're coming back? Are they producing high levels of force, or are they absolutely neurologically cooked? So again, for me, it was a way to test and retest our athletes over time without having to put them under an immense amount of load and risk our athletes, right? For us, the safe overloading was the absolute most important thing. All right, so this is our rotational split squat. Again, similar premise. Holy moly. I'm gonna go a little lighter. Oh, come on. Actually, where's Jacoby at? Jacoby? Yeah, I'm getting sweaty. All right, give me the rotational split squat. Now, he's got, yeah, we might have to go a little. Oh, big strong guy. Big strong guy. All right, we're gonna go 10 and 20. Okay, so he's gonna set himself up, opposite foot forward, right? He's gonna drive in a little bit. So he's gonna be in a split position, yep, right? He's in an acceleration position that we'd see in hockey, right? His upper body angle and shin angle are gonna match. And what he's gonna do is he's gonna push off that front foot. He's gonna rotate towards the kettlebells. Back leg's gonna be locked out, right? Yep, and then he's gonna drop back in nice and quick, right? So again, a fast eccentric, right? We're able to load that tissue. We're loading that front side glute, right? Hit the brakes, come back up. Boom, boom, back down, right? So we can do this for volume. We can do this over speed. We can do this isokinetically. Generally speaking, we build down the force velocity curve, going higher intensity or higher load with lower speeds, and then down for some higher speed work. Cool, any questions on that one? Can you talk about the 10-20? Yeah, so primarily I'll use the eccentric load as a way of just, again, overloading the tissue from an eccentric standpoint, right? We could go 10 and 10, we could go 20 and 20. I want them dropping in with some load, having the speed, loading that front side glute, maintaining that pelvic position, and then coming back up. So that overload with the overspeed just gives them a little bit more feel against it, anecdotally speaking. We will build down the force velocity curve. So I'll put 25 kilos on there to start. Again, having an hour, 20 kilos, having an athlete chop against a fair amount of load, and then we'll start working down. After our athletes get a little bit of experience on the chop, what we'll do is we'll just set high score wins, right? I'll tell our athletes, hey, it's a home run derby, right? And then I let the athletes choose their weight. Especially as we get further into season, right? Our athletes know what makes them feel powerful, what makes them feel fast. So I'll say, all right, cool, hey, high score wins. If you want to go high weight, great. If you want to make it a little bit lighter, great. Want to let it rip? Great. And again, we'll track asymmetries right versus left. We know in season, right, if an athlete is left hand, right, up on the top, They're shooting a lot on that right side. We know there's going to be some asymmetries that's happening. We can expect that. What we want to see is over time, is it getting worse? Are we able to make a little bit of work to even it out, right? And on top of that, right, a high force, high speed movement like that, right, mimics that slap shot. Whether our athletes like it or not, if I give an athlete a 15 kilo or 15 pound med ball, they'll rip it, right? They certainly will, but they're not absolutely putting the same amount of force and power that they would on the ice, right? If they're on the bumper letting it rip. The second we put them on here and we start competing, that goes out the window, right? I have 3 sisters on the roster, right? 2 of them are the same age, 1 is 2 years older. If one of them sees their sister produce higher amounts of power, you better believe they are hopping back on and letting it rip, right? It is a competitive environment. So this gives us an opportunity to increase intent, track asymmetries, and load the tissue to build a more robust system.